Welcome back to the Wedding Buzz. It's your host, Sydney, and today I am so excited to be joined by Laura Ashley, the creative force behind Laura Ashley Catering and Events. So welcome to the Wedding
Hi.
Buzz.
Hi, Sydney. Hi, everybody.
I'm so glad that you finally were able to make it on, and you guys, we were having tech issues today, so we made it here, but it's going to be a great time. So I want to dive in and learn more about you and your business. So tell me how you got started in the catering industry.
Um, well, my love of weddings and events started when I was 12 or 13 or 14. I'm not quite sure, but I had my first subscription to Martha Stewart Wedding magazine when I was in my early teens. So I have had a passion for weddings and all things events since I was really young. But how I got to be a chef and catering, that just kind of happened miraculously. I needed to go to school or college, and nothing sounded really interesting, but going to culinary school and learning about food and wine sounded interesting. So I went and did that, and I never had any ambition of being a chef, but it's one of those things where God put me in the right place, and this is what I was supposed to do as my destiny. And turns out when I got to culinary school, I didn't just learn about food and wine, but I also learned how to cook, and I was really good at it, and it just brought out those creative juices.
That's awesome. So
Mhm.
how did you end up actually in the wedding industry?
Um, I think I'm a detail oriented person. It happened. I say all the time to people, I'm like, we're always on a lily pad. We're going to go, we take it one step at a time, like a lily pad. And my first wedding was I did it at a trailer park. And it was just a guy that was broke, and I was new in the business, and I was cheap enough, and I gave him a good deal. And because I wanted my first crack at a wedding. And, my first wedding was at a trailer park in Lantana, and it went great. And then then it was more lily pads after that. I did another one and another one, and then you just get so many under your belt, and then you get on another level. But that's how it kind of started, was just little by little.
I feel like wedding vendor starts out by like doing some small
As a favor,
like
right? I'll do it for free. I'll do it for free. Just
yeah,
give me a
I was
chance. Yeah,
I was
I've
working with a
done
content
tons for
creator.
free.
I was working with a content creator recently who she's like, this is like my ninth wedding I'm doing for free. But she was really good
Mhm.
and had a personality for the wedding industry and like quick on her feet, like
Yep.
when little hiccups happened and stuff. And I was like, you're good, stick with it.
Yeah,
Like
now she has a lot of
it's
content, and it'll pay off. I
it
think it'll always pay off.
will. It
Mhm.
will. How do you like catering for other events versus weddings?
Let's see. Well, I love events in general. I mean, I say all the time that, like, if I could do catering for free, I would, because I just love it so much. I love the organization of weddings. I love corporate. Corporate is fast. They have a budget. They know what they want. Usually, they just let you be in charge or make the menu, which is great. I love a good cocktail party. Everybody likes tiny food, and the food cost on that is great. I make a ton of money on cocktail parties. I love those. But I think, I just love events in general. Weddings obviously take a lot more attention to detail, but the reward is so much greater. You get these great galleries, you get to meet these families and spend a lot of time with your client. Um, they hold a special place in my heart because I think you get so close with the client. I love corporate, but I also love the social aspect of a wedding too.
Yeah, there's a lot more of a personal touch
Mhm.
on the wedding
Yeah,
side,
they
and
become
it's
like family, and then you do the first baby party, and then you do the second kid, and then you're. I think, well, as we get older, I'll be doing graduations and stuff. So you just kind of follow your client along this journey, and it's special. It's so special.
it is special. I
Mhm.
had a mother of the bride this weekend at the end of the night. I think after maybe a few glasses of wine, she was like hugging me and was like, "I'm gonna miss talking to you." I'm
Mhm.
like, you can call me,
Yeah.
like maybe not every day, but but yeah, it is. You get close with the whole family, and it's really special.
Yeah, and then the
When
wedding's over
you-
and they don't remember your name, you know. So I struggled with that a lot actually. When I first got started was the pullback, obviously they have other things to think about now, So I that was
yeah,
one of the things that caught me off guard when I first started doing weddings.
there's definitely that's been a topic with my team a little bit because there's definitely the clients who make you feel like, you know, you'll remember your name forever.
Mhm.
And then there are some clients who you're just the hired help.
Mhm.
And sometimes I mean that's okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes it there's definitely a big difference of when you can tell you're truly appreciated, like on a personal level, or
Yeah,
I don't know.
respected. Yeah. Mhm.
Do you feel like that sometimes too, where it's like sometimes you're respected and seen as a human, and then sometimes you're just like the hired help?
For sure. Well, especially in the beginning. Oh my God. I think now I command a little bit more respect from my clients. They know they're a Laura Ashley client before I even know who they are. So now it's a lot better, thank God. But yeah, I mean, I think in hospitality, it's a service industry and people expect service. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think it's a it's amazing, developing a rapport and credibility with some of these clients, it's really great.
Yeah. No, I think in everyone in the hospitality industry, I think it takes a special person, because it
Mm,
is a certain industry and we really most of the vendors that I know, like it's really their full heart and passion
yeah.
and we give it all.
Oh, we're
Um
we're all people pleasers for sure. We're all a
for
bunch of crazy people
sure.
pleasers.
For sure. Like
Yeah,
chronic people pleaser. Um, but I think at the end of the day, it makes us work harder and it
for
makes
sure.
us it look at where you are. So
Yeah.
your people pleasing is paying off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, big time. It's going good.
Um,
I love it.
when you started your business,
Mhm.
what did you envision? Like, is this where was this your path, your goal, and like where you are today is what you wanted, or has it changed?
Well, growing up, my mom and dad were entrepreneurs. So I've always had an entrepreneur mindset. I sold Mary Kay, Arbonne, Party Like Candles. In my 20s, I always got wrapped up into these multi level marketing spiels. But it actually taught me how to sell. So I think I always knew I was going to be a business owner. Did I know it was going to be catering? No. Really, it was my creative rebellion that sparked me to start this business. I just kind of thought, oh, I could do it better. I kind of thought it was going to start as like a side gig. I really thought I was going to start doing like cocktail parties at night and just like have a day job, like more like a private chef. I never expected that it would turn into a full-fledged business with employees and taxes and licensing and vans. And I never, if you would have told me 11 years ago all the paperwork that was involved, I would have ran the other way. Um
Hmm.
but I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I jumped and I took the risk, and that's ultimately what it is. Did I know it was going to turn into this? No, I had no idea. It was all a lily pad, remember? It's all step by step.
Yeah. No, that I mean that's cool though that it grew into way more than you
Mm.
even
It's
for
almost
yourself.
bigger than me now. It's
Yeah.
almost, but I think you gotta, my goal, I've always known I want to keep it boutique. I want to have my freedom. I want to be able to pick and choose. If I want to take the weekend off in March, I just tell clients, oh, sorry, we don't have that date available. So I think, I always knew I wanted to have a life and free time and not be working so hard. So I think that's a goal, as a human being. When you're a business owner, you need to really think about, okay, I want to build this thing and I want to work hard and I want to be successful, but I also don't want to miss, all my 30s, where I'm, working all the time. So I think it's good to have a good goal on who you are and where you want this thing to go.
Yeah. No, that is important. A work-life balance. And I
Yeah.
think that it like it makes you better on your work days when you have those rest days too.
Yeah, we work every weekend and like we miss out as industry professionals, we miss out on so much of our own life and our family just because we're working every weekend. So like I really try to not work on Sundays and Mondays, if I can. So like um and then we have our summers, thank God we have that. But yeah, just try to have an idea of who you want to be, where you want this thing to go.
Yeah. Can you walk us through how you curate or customize a wedding menu, like from
That's
what
it.
people felt?
Um well, I make menus. We change our menus every year, and I do that based on throughout the year. I do traveling. I'm always researching. I'm looking up other caterers, seeing what's going on. Um, and so I make this note. I have a note section in my phone for the year, and then when I go to make menus the following year, I have all these cool notes and stuff that I didn't want to forget. So once I make like a wedding menu or buffet menu, then that really helps the client like pick and choose what they want. They know what because none of them have had a wedding before. So you got to like kind of guide them. So I try to keep creative things on there all the time. I try to keep fun, whimsical things. I think that's what helps me stand out the most is that, I'll take like some sort of kitchen hardware and incorporate it into a cocktail party design, or I put little shrimp in bathtubs, or shrimp in chairs. I like to really put the shrimp in all different types of things, but I try to keep it fun and whimsical. And then that way people have these memorable events at their wedding, that are cute and different that their guests have never seen before.
Yeah. You are definitely one that does a beautiful display.
Thank you.
Like if I ever have a bride that
We
wants
displayed
a
this
certain
for your podcast today.
thing, it looks beautiful. It's better.
I got
I
my
have
lady
been
head.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I usually go in the studio and then I've been in the middle of moving. And so I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I'm in my dad's office right now, blurring out the background. But oh well, your background looks beautiful.
Thank you.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I love a good display. I love decorating. I love design. I think it's so fun. And that's a way that I can really incorporate the client's personality is in their design. Like for instance, at White Trails this weekend, we had the coolest couple. You can check out their wedding on my
The wedding with
Instagram.
Cher?
What?
Was that the wedding with the Cher impersonator?
Yes. They had
I
share,
saw that.
they had disco balls. I highly recommend hiring some type of celebrity impersonator because the energy is phenomenal. If they're good, I mean, do that. I think that is something that more people should do. Cher was amazing. They flew her in from Jersey. But they had disco balls, they had fun, unique things. And it was their wedding was so them, and that was a lot of fun. When I told Tia, the warehouse manager, I was like, okay, on the pack list we need to pack the disco balls for this wedding. So it was a lot of fun to design and do something cool for them because they already had so much personality and they gave me like a good roadmap.
Yeah. No, I love that. And because sometimes um, sometimes catering can be really boring, for
Mundane.
lack of words, of just like,
Hmm.
the what are they called? The heating dishes, the
The chafing
trays.
dishes, yeah, black tablecloth chafing dish. Yes. So
Yeah.
I think,
Sometimes it's just like a black linen and
mhm,
those,
yeah,
and that's it. And it's very, I
yeah,
mean, it's just not the vibe for a luxury, grand, beautiful
no.
wedding.
Well, I don't like
You always do
a
a fabulous
creative
job.
person. You always want to be different and kind of doing new stuff. So I think every wedding is it's almost like an opportunity for me to try this out. Let me try that. So I love it, switching it up because it does get boring. But I think the reason why other caterers do that is because catering is so hard. Literally, we are setting up a restaurant and breaking it down in one day. And it is hard to keep, I think, as an industry, alone, it's hard to keep reinventing yourself. I mean, it's hard to keep outdoing yourself. Like we're a bunch of crazy people pleasers, it's like almost like our best isn't even enough. So, um, Yeah, I just noticed that, it's so crazy to keep outdoing yourself. It's exhausting, but it's rewarding.
It is.
It's rewarding.
It,
You get good
I
photos.
had a venue coordinator recently, like looking at me, she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "What?" Yeah. And she was like, "Your face, like you just look so stressed." And I was like, "No, like it's fine.
Hmm.
Like everything was going fine.
Hmm.
I I just had clients that were very particular, you know? And
Yeah.
I was like, I just want them to be happy." She was like, "Well, that's never gonna happen with these clients,
Yeah.
so stop." And I was like, "No, the people pleaser in me needs it." But they called me after and they're thrilled. So
Good. Well,
we were good.
good. Yeah. I think sometimes it's hard to read people too, it's hard.
Yeah, it is. And it just, I mean, like we were saying, is like we put our heart and soul
Yeah.
into
And they
this.
probably had
Yes.
so much going on, like you got to think these weddings are so stressful for these little people. I mean, they are so stressful. It's their families coming in, it's people flying in, everybody's asking the bride a million questions, I mean, it is intense, so I think sometimes like as vendors, we want that praise back or, that validation. We're not going to get it right away because the client is just literally going through the happiest and most stressful weekend of their life, So
Exactly.
we have to
But
just
then
be
after,
there to cheer them on, get them to the finish line.
exactly, exactly. So when a couple comes to you, what are some of the first things that you ask or focus on, like to really understand their vision?
Hmm, I hate to say it, but like it's budget is a huge, huge thing for catering, right? So I think most people they underestimate how much it costs to take 200 people out to dinner. But you're not taking them out to dinner at a restaurant. You're renting the table, the napkin, the plate, the fork, the knife. We bring it all in, like, yeah, you want to get married in a barn? Sure, but you're going to pay for it, I mean, even getting married in the backyard is more expensive than a venue. So I think people underestimate how much catering costs, right?
Mhm.
It needs to be about 40 or 50% of your budget. That's what I hear from all the good planners, right? It's about half of your budget. um, and then once I know that budget, I can create or customize something for you. So, like, not every wedding is going to have filet mignon, but let's give them a really great New York strip carving station thing. Once I know what we're working with realistically, then I can create a menu that's fun, but also that's going to keep you in your budget. I want your business no matter what. I don't care. I just want to make sure we're being realistic because
Yeah.
I do not want you to cry, when 3 weeks before your wedding when you're just like so surprised at the bill. So I always update clients as we go throughout the year. Basically, as soon as they make any kind of payment, they get another update. I, I think budget is huge when it comes to catering because people just underestimate what it
I
costs.
do. Yeah, I think people underestimate and people underestimate like all that is involved.
Hmm.
Uh, they think catering is, just food, but kind of what you were saying, there's a lot more that goes to it, such as the tables, the linens, you
The
know,
flooring. I mean, I rent tents, generators, bathrooms. I mean, we're pretty much full service with everything that we can bring in. Um, like I said, we build the restaurant and we take it down in one night, So
I want to touch on that more because
yeah.
people might not understand what you mean by that. So, like, I know you and I were talking about a wedding recently.
Mhm. A big
That
one.
was a big one that was essentially like in an open field.
Hmm.
And it kind of started out as like, oh, I want a tent and some food. And by the end, it was like, we want a very luxury
We want to,
feel.
yeah, we want a designer celebrity tent.
I mean, about
Yeah,
triple the budget.
yeah, yeah.
Do you want to talk about like all the building blocks and like what it really takes to build that restaurant out in a field?
Yeah. So I think first off, we have to have some type of shelter, right? And depending on the season, we need some type of air conditioning or fans. We definitely need lighting in that tent at night, right? So bistro lighting, that's something people don't account for. We also need lighting for the paths for people walking or to light up the landscaping. So Aunt Mary doesn't trip and break her ankle at your wedding. Of course there's parking, but that's not really in my department. But bathrooms, we need bathrooms. Um, Recently I bought like a portable sink that we take to events where we can hook it up with a hose just so we have some type of running water for hand washing, rinsing. Um, we need power. Power is huge. Whenever you rent, like, I call them posh potties, like the bathroom, that comes on its own generator. You need another generator and probably like 4 extra cans of gas to run your kitchen. And if you have a band or a DJ, they need all that power too. So then we have to account for like the ampage. That's something that's been wild that I never really accounted for, but we got to know all the amps that all these vendors need for all their equipment. Sometimes I feel very much like a contractor building stuff. But, we work with some great rental companies where they come out and they measure, and, people have taught me a lot along the way. But other things to think about is trash removal, tables, chairs, busing stations, like a place for your vendors to eat their dinner or put down their backpacks, all their equipment.
There's equipment in the room. I'm like, no.
That the vendor equipment is a lot, and but I think it all can be done. I wish people would talk more about pricing and stuff on it. You see the clips on Instagram. This wedding cost, $50,000, and in South Florida, things vary in price. But I think if you're going to have a backyard wedding nowadays for like, under 100 people, or maybe 100 people, like, you're probably with a tent and soup to nuts and $100,000. I think weddings now in South Florida, if it looks like anything on the internet, and if it's 100 people, just $100,000, just start with that.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that's accurate as a starting point. And,
yeah.
I mean, and then it,
tell dad to get his checkbook out, just what it costs.
Yeah. Yes. And I mean, I don't want people to think that we're saying you have to spend that much on your wedding, but if you want a wedding that is looking like your Pinterest board, that's how much it's going to at least cost.
Unless you have like 20 guests, I mean, the thing is too, is a lot of these people, I have 200 people and I have $100,000. That's not enough. Yeah. That's not enough either, because we need a tent for 200 people. We need 20 tables. We need, I mean,
linens, chargers.
200 people is a lot of people. That's a lot. And you need a lot of space, So.
Yep.
Get more money.
Yep. Do you know that this weekend, side little note, this weekend, thank God it was during cleanup, not setup, but they dropped like a whole rack of glass chargers and 54 of them broke.
They dropped more than a rack.
I think they stacked them on like a folding table and the table collapsed.
They didn't lock the legs. They didn't lock the legs of the table. Oh my God. That's rule number 1. Who set up the tables?
It was the venue.
Yeah.
Thank God this happened in the back of house.
Okay. Like but still, I mean, to lose 54 chargers, that's huge. So that's like half of your room with no charger. What did you do?
Oh, well, it was during pack up. It was at the end.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank God. Oh.
Thank God. But I was like, I mean,
who had to pay for that damage waiver? That's a fee that people don't see coming.
Yeah.
Damage.
Yeah. Has happened a couple of times on, but I think the venue, it was their team that dropped it.
Oh, that's a couple $1,000 mistake for sure.
Yeah. No fun. Speaking of mistakes, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see couples make when they're choosing their catering?
Not picking us. No. I don't know. I think sometimes, and listen, when you have a number, a budget, that sometimes that's all you can spend. I think sometimes people pick, a less quality vendor because they're getting more food, or they feel like they're getting more, but they pick a less quality vendor. And I see that sometimes that can really bite you in the butt. What's the point of having a cheap caterer if they show up 3 hours late? So I mean, I think it's important to pick people that are reputable, that do this all the time. And if you don't have money for it, maybe scale back. Don't start picking a bunch of cheapies that you don't really have a wedding experience. Not restaurants really don't have catering experience. Wedding experience is very specific. That's what I would do. But then again, if that guy from the trailer park never picked me, I wouldn't be here. So I think hindsight's 2020.
True.
I think everybody's just going to do the best they can to get through this wedding. But that's really all I can do. But I think maybe people try to choose, a cheaper option, and they don't get the quality that they probably really deserve on their special day.
No, I agree. And of course, like, again, we understand being budget conscious.
Mhm.
I can tell I personally don't have hundreds of thousands
No,
of
yeah,
dollars. Like,
yeah.
I get it.
But do something
But
cute, and get like a really great Italian guy to do pizza and pasta very, very, very well. I mean,
right. Do something you can afford and do it well.
yeah, but
Don't
hire someone that does it very well. Like we've
right.
gone out and we've done taco bars before, just for a wedding. Taco bars
Yeah.
and like frozen margaritas. I mean, um, just make
Which
sure that it's quality.
I will say, like, I mean, not to answer the question for you, but you started by saying, like, by not picking you. And I will say that that's accurate, but I think that something that people miss when they're looking at budget, so they might compare you to someone else, and someone else is just cheaper, and maybe like they pick
Mhm.
someone else.
Yeah.
And then when they come to me, is when I usually point out, like, okay, wait, they might be cheaper, but they don't have servers. They don't have bussers.
Mhm.
They're not setting up the table. They're not including the rental
Yeah.
items. They're not. So I know as a planner, if I'm working with you, I don't have to overstress because I know that you take care of the full picture.
Yeah.
And then there are people who just drop off food and peace out. And I think that, and it's, I don't mean to shame the couples because they don't know what they don't know, but
They
that is,
don't
I
know.
think, big mistake that I see people make in catering a lot because sometimes they come to me afterwards and I'm like, hey, so I looked at your catering contract and they are dropping off food and piecing out, and you have no rental items, you have no servers, you have no bussers, you have none of this. And then you separately add. And now we're at the same price as like the vendor who actually knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You
And who gave you the right quote to begin with? I don't have time to revise that quote. We're full service, so if you call me for a party, my idea of you having a great time is you're in hair and makeup with hot rollers in your hair, and I'm out there, unloading trucks, and our team is taking care of everything, setting everything up, and you come as a guest to your own party. I mean, that's just that's what we do.
I
So
agree.
yeah, I think, yeah, people make mistakes, don't they? And there are companies that, have great reputations, and they're well known, and everybody loves to go eat at their place, but they legit sell you a wedding where they come and drop it off. And I've heard nightmares of planners having to bust these tables at night. And I just can't even imagine. I just can't even imagine, like, my crew leaving before the wedding is over. That sounds horrific.
Yeah. I mean, this was like a few years ago, like one of my first experiences, but I had a caterer who didn't bring, like, they brought the exact number of plates,
Oh
and
no.
it was for a buffet. And so people went up for seconds and there weren't enough plates. And then they didn't bring any extra, like, for the
Cake and
vendors,
oh, vendor
which
meal.
again, years ago. So there are parts of this that like I learned too, but
Mhm.
uh, yeah, it was, you learn a lot.
Yeah.
And they left as soon as dinner was over, and guess
Mm.
who cleaned everything up? So we'll never make that mistake again.
Yeah.
But I know that your team is full service and it really makes such a big difference. And as a
Yeah, I mean, you
planner,
have
I know.
enough to worry about. I mean, last thing you need to worry about is food and beverage. Last thing anybody needs to worry about is food and beverage, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm sorry that
Um,
happened to you.
oh,
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
like you said, you started at a trailer park,
I've learned a
and that
lot
was
too. Yeah.
that
Hmm.
was one of my first weddings, and I learned real quick. I was like, oh, I
Hmm.
need to make sure that catering is staying till the end of the wedding. Okay, like
Hmm.
learning opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can couples thoughtfully plan their meal timeline so that the food becomes part of the experience, not just like an afterthought, and that things flow well?
Timeline. Well, what we do, what I always recommend is I love to do, and I know this isn't very fancy, but I like to get people in and get them something to eat right away. I think it's great to have a preset salad or have the salad come out very quickly. What we do for my more luxurious weddings is we try to pour wine as soon as people sit down. So we're, hey, hi, we're touching the table. They see us, and then we bring out the salad. But I think it's people want to get started. When they get in their seat, they want to get started, and then it's like a little bit of dinner and a show. Now, bride and groom, people have salads in front of them. Bride and groom come out, introductions, first dances, and it's better than people like twiddling their thumbs at the table, so they have something to do while they're watching all the entertainment. And then I think it's nice when they, maybe get up and dance for a song or two, kind of get the energy back in the room, and then we sit them down for dinner. But that's a planner thing for me. I ultimately, I want to feed them sooner than later, and we it probably takes about 30 minutes between each course for stuff to come out, with hot and have enough time for plating. But um, there's nothing super extra special I can think about, but I think
Yeah.
feeding them
No, but
sooner than later is better.
I mean, I agree that people get in. I hate letting people into the reception room too early. Like if I don't feel like the bride and groom are ready to do their entrance within like 5 to 10 minutes of letting all the guests in, I'm like, I don't want the guests to be in there and sitting and
Hmm.
doing nothing, especially if we're not having salad served
Yeah.
quickly and all that. But you just mentioned something. I want to talk about this because I feel like this has been a topic with a lot of couples that they don't understand. How long do you feel it takes to serve salads? How long do you let them eat salads and then you clear and then we serve dinner?
Mm.
How long do we let them eat dinner and then we clear? Like, what is a realistic timeline for the full dinner service, in your opinion?
Okay. So let's just say we're having a wedding for 150 people and I have 7 servers on the floor. It's
Mhm.
probably going to take us 10 minutes to serve your bread and your salad. That's my team, like to serve it, 10, 15 minutes max to get all the salads out. And they were already plated, obviously, in the back. Okay.
Right.
Um, Now we let them eat for 20 minutes. There's 2 options. You
Yep.
can clear as people get done, or you can wait to clear the whole table at once. We like to wait to clear the whole table at once. And that probably takes another 15 minutes. So now you're at 15 minutes to serve, 20 minutes to eat, 15 minutes to clear. And as soon as we start clearing, as soon as we're like halfway done with the room, our chef team is already starting to plate up the dinner course. So it's ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it takes us to do 150 people. It takes, I think our record has been like 14 minutes to 16 minutes to serve 150 people. And that's with about 5 chefs plating up and 7 servers. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So we go pretty
That's
fast
another thing. Going back to budget, when people are like, why is the food so much? Why is the catering so much? I'm like,
because
the amount of
Laura can't do it
team.
all herself. She needs a team.
You can't? Why not?
When people ask me, "Oh, why do we need 2 chefs?" I'm like, "Ma'am, I cannot do this all myself." People just don't understand how much work is involved. I mean, catering is
Yeah.
so labor intensive. Listen, you know what? I remind people, "Hey, did you cook Thanksgiving at your house this year?" "Yeah." Okay, and how did you feel after you did that for 10 people? Okay, now you're asking me to come out and cook for 150 people in a field. Like that's like, that's like 100 Thanksgivings. I mean, it's crazy. The workload is crazy. So I think people have to just kind of, you know, um, you got to tell it like it is and remind them of what how much work is involved.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Put them in their
But
place.
what's very, very true. But with the timeline that you're saying about like 10, 15 minutes to serve, 20 minutes to eat, 15 minutes to clear, and then
Hmm.
another 10 to serve entrees, and then I'm assuming 20 to eat, and then another 10, 15 to clear.
Yeah,
Uh, so all in, I mean, we're easily at an hour, if not a little more, for the full like meal
for
portion.
sure. I would say like, yeah,
It's
hour and
important
15.
because an hour and 15. A lot of venues, um, depending on the venue, depending if you're doing it at a private residence or whatever, but sometimes you have like a 4 hour reception package. And even if you are doing it at your private property, a lot of like your DJ, your
Mhm.
photographer, all the other vendors are going to be on like a 4 or 5 hour like package.
Mhm.
And I think that that's important for people to note that a good hour of that at least is going to be dinner service and not all party. So
Mhm.
if you want hours upon hours of party, make sure to remember, you know, give an hour and a half of dinner, and then there's
Mhm.
speeches, hosts, and all of that. And so,
It eats up your
um,
time for sure.
guys, I just find that I have a lot of people be like, well, dinner will take like 20 minutes. I'm like, no, it would. There's no way.
Yeah.
Um,
But honestly, people don't want to dance more than 2 or 3 hours. I mean, have you ever danced at a wedding before? Like, I mean, it's intense. You get exhausted, Yeah. So, and you're thirsty and stuff. So I think 2 hours of dancing is plenty from what I see, from my own
I
experience.
I agree. All right. Well, I do ask everyone that's on the podcast if they have any horror stories, which
It's not like a horror story. It's actually, before it turned into a horror story. I had, probably last year, a potential client, a groom reach out, and, he just had this whole grand wedding. I don't know who the heck was letting him plan this thing, but, he was taking over the food part, and, lucky me. And we were in the interview process, and I was very much interviewing him as much as he was interviewing me. And he was just kind of, we didn't vibe, let's just say that. And he wanted to, one of his ideas was to put 100-pound wild boar on a platter and display it, and twirl it around, and then we're supposed to take this thing down and hack it up and cut it and serve it. And logistically that just wasn't going to work for the wedding. And then he wanted to have a little person running around. It was wild. He wanted to have a circus, and I just didn't want to be one of his monkeys, and I declined the job. I said, I just don't think it's going to be a good fit for us to work together, because it's very much about chemistry if I got to be with you for a year. So I declined it, and I think I avoided a horror story from what I hear, from what
yeah,
all the other vendors are telling me. His wedding was a couple weeks ago, but I'm hearing all their horror stories, from working with him. And ultimately, if you're in the business, trust your gut. Always trust your gut, your intuition. Not every
I
client is your client.
I think if you're a vendor listening, like that is such an important lesson that even I'm learning of like you don't have to say yes to anything, to everything.
Mm-mm.
I had one about a month ago or so that I was like took last minute and it worked out fine, but it was just
Yeah.
funky and I knew from the start that it was going to be a mess, but I took it anyway and
Hmm.
we got through it. But it was one of those like, was that worth it?
Yeah.
was
You didn't come out
was that
unscathed,
worth
you know.
it? But that's a really good point of sometimes you have to say no to certain things
Hmm.
to avoid the horror story. And
Hmm.
sounds like you are at a place where you can scope it out in
Yeah.
advance
Keep your
and
peace. No
make your
little people running around a wedding. I'm sorry. No wild boars. No, we're not doing that. That's not my brand. You know?
uh,
So,
and it's important to know who you are and what you want to
yes,
represent.
it's not my vibe.
Uh, Well, what is one piece of advice that you'd want to give our listeners? I mean, if you're focusing on like brides and grooms, if you
Okay.
one, I know,
This is a
no
good
hard
one.
question.
So
Okay.
I think when you go into this wedding journey together as a couple, I think you guys really need to sit down and have a meeting before you go talk to each vendor. So that way, when you do your meeting as a couple with the vendor, you're not, saying things off the cuff or surprising each other. You are a focused, united team and you know what you want. So before you go meet with your florist, you and your honey need to look out and see, okay, we like these flowers. Okay, we want to know the price of this. You need to be a united team before all these meetings because your groom needs just as much help as you do. We got to help these grooms, but have a meeting and know what you're going into and what you want to accomplish at it before you get there.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
It's hard to help two people that don't agree on what they want to do. And then your vendor is like, what? I don't. Are we in marriage counseling right now or something? I don't even know.
I'm going to add to that.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to, the bride and groom needs to be on the same page. Also, if mom and dad are paying for the wedding and they are having an opinion on things, you need to be on the same page as them as well prior to vendor meetings because it's nothing more awkward than a mother-daughter screaming at each other on a call and you're just like,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, I mean, be aligned before, have open, honest conversations.
Yeah.
Don't hide from each other. I think that
Well, your vendors only have so much time with you to spend with you. And it's like those meetings are so important. You need to get a lot done. And, if your groom is going to be involved, you need to rein him in, you need to rein him. You need to, you want to make sure he's team wedding.
I also see sometimes on wedding day where the groom is like, well, are we doing this? And the bride's like, no, we're blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, I thought this. Or like, and I'm like, did you guys really not talk
Well, they don't
before?
listen. I mean, let's be honest. These men, they don't listen. But yeah, don't marry a combative groom. Okay, girls, if you got a groom that's trying to make this process difficult, get him out of there. We're
Get him out of
not
it.
marrying anybody that makes us cry. We're not doing that. And this should be an enjoyable experience. This is very much two people coming together as a team. So there's some love advice for you, but definitely know what meetings you're going into, what direction, what you want to accomplish. It's very important. And if he doesn't listen, oh well, that's on him.
Yes.
Yeah. But grooms are always surprised at the wedding, aren't they? They're always surprised at like how nice it turns out. And they're always surprised. They're blown away every time.
Oh wow. She's been going crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
I was cracking up. This weekend I had just talking about grooms needing extra help. I walked by like the groom's suite and one of the dads was like, hey, we need your help. Like, can you come in here? And I was like, yeah, what's up? And now that we can't figure out these ties. Oh, are they bow ties? Because, I know sometimes they have trouble with those, whatever. Yeah, if you're going to wear a bow tie, watch a YouTube video prior and learn how to tie your tie. But I was like, oh, okay, let me help you.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, they were clip-on ties.
Oh, okay. Were they just trying to be funny?
No.
God.
They couldn't figure them out. They could not figure them out. It's okay.
They need a lot of help. They need a lot of help, these men.
Hire a planner. I can clip-on ties. I literally like clipped and tightened all the ties and like folded their collar. Now I'm dressing the grooms. Groom. No. They need a lot of help. But it's okay. Well, anyway, it's been so fun having you on here and getting to chat. I appreciate it so much. Where can people find you if they want to have the best food and best experience at their wedding?
Well, you can visit our Instagram, but we won't respond to you if you send us a message. You have to hit us up on the email. But Instagram is LA_caters_Palm Beach. And then our website is LAcaterspalmbeach.com. You can just Google Laura Ashley Catering. We're based in West Palm, but we go all the way to Vero, possibly even further. We go Vero to Isla Mirada. So if you're willing to pay travel fees, we'll go wherever you want us to go. We love to travel. Yeah, just reach out to us. Usually it takes us about 48 to 72 hours to get a quote back to you. Um, and you can always text me. The company phone number is my phone number. So text messages sometimes get a quicker response. But send us a quote request and, feel us out. Let us quote your wedding and let's see if we can work together.
Amazing. Well, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thanks, Sydney.
This has been fun. Yeah. And if you're a couple, reach out to Laura and have the best food at your wedding.